Let me begin by asking you a question. When was the last time you truly relaxed? Not the kind of relaxation where you're sitting down but your mind is still racing. I mean the kind of rest where you breathe, your shoulders drop, and your soul quietly whispers, God is in control. Because there are moments in life when God gently speaks into our storm. Relax. Everything will come to you, not because He denies the battles, not because He ignores the deadlines, but because He knows the future you cannot see. And right now, someone listening to me is living in tension about finances, tension about your family, tension about your future. You're doing everything you can, running in circles, trying to hold life together with your bare hands. But God did not create you to live as if the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. He carries universes in His hands. He can carry your tomorrow. You need to hear this today. Relaxing in God is not giving up. It's giving over. It's surrendering the fear that keeps you up at night and trusting that the one who formed you also guides you. Some of you are afraid of slowing down because you think if you don't keep pushing, everything will fall apart. But here's the truth. The blessings God has prepared for you do not require your panic. They require your patience. God has a timing that doesn't bow to your clock. He has a plan that doesn't obey your pressure. He has a path that doesn't need your stress to succeed. When God says relax, He's not telling you to sit in weakness. He's calling you to stand in confidence. Let me tell you something important. An anxious heart cannot hear a peaceful God. When worry shouts, faith whispers. That's why God invites you to relax, not because He wants you to do nothing, but because He wants you to hear Him clearly. And here's the engaging part of this message, the part that should compel you to stay to the end. There are blessings on the way to you right now that anxiety will block, but peace will reveal. There are prayers you've prayed that are already answered in heaven, but haven't reached you on earth because you're too overwhelmed to recognize the door when it opens. Relaxation positions you to receive. Worry positions you to miss. Think of a farmer who plants a seed and then digs it up every morning to check its progress. That seed will never grow. That's what worry does. It uproots what faith is trying to grow. But when you relax, when you step back and allow God to work behind the scenes, when you whisper, Lord, I trust your timing more than my urgency, suddenly heaven starts moving in ways you don't expect. Hear this clearly. What you chase out of fear, God brings to you out of peace. The right relationships will come. The right opportunities will come. The finances you're worried about will come. The strength you think you've lost will return. When God said, relax, He meant stop fighting battles that are already won. So today, breathe, slow your heart, calm your mind. God is not late. God is not silent. God is not distant. He's working, and everything He promised is on the way. Because when God says relax, it's not a suggestion, it's a declaration that everything you need is already coming toward you. Before we begin, here is the full 500-word expansion of the Faskaiwayot in direct speech, written in the style you requested without mentioning Him, no headings, no ending line, and with strong, engaging language. When I say to you, God's timing is never late. I'm not giving you a sentence to memorize. I'm giving you a truth that can completely change the way you breathe. Because some of you right now are living in the tension of waiting. You're waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for answers, waiting for clarity, waiting for the moment when life finally lines up with the prayers you have whispered in the dark. And in that waiting, it's easy to feel forgotten. It's easy to assume God is slow. But listen to me carefully. God is never slow. He is strategic. There are moments in your life when you look at the calendar and say, Lord, you should have done it by now. The deadline passed. The window closed. The season shifted. But God doesn't follow your deadlines. He follows His design. You see delays. God sees development. You see waiting. God sees preparation. And if you could hear the heartbeat of heaven right now, it would whisper one powerful truth. I am not late. I am aligning everything for the right moment. I want you to lean in and listen, because this is the engaging part you cannot afford to miss. If God gave you what you're praying for right now, before you're ready, before the situation is aligned, before the character is built, the blessing would crush you instead of carry you. God isn't withholding something from you. He's protecting you for it. Every not yet is not rejection. It's divine timing. There are some doors God hasn't opened because the people on the other side are not prepared to receive you. There are opportunities that haven't appeared because the foundation beneath them isn't strong enough yet. There are blessings that haven't arrived because God is still shaping you into the person who can handle them without losing your peace. When God says, wait, He's not slowing you down. He's synchronizing your life with His perfect will. Think about a sunrise. It doesn't burst into the sky suddenly. It rises slowly, steadily, beautifully at the exact second it is meant to appear. You can't rush it and you can't delay it. That's how God's timing works. It doesn't obey your impatience. It obeys His perfection. And when that moment comes, everything that felt stuck begins to move. Everything that felt distant begins to arrive. Everything that seemed impossible suddenly becomes obvious. Some of you are frustrated because you feel like your life is on pause. But heaven is not paused. God is arranging conversations, aligning opportunities, preparing resources, and guiding people you haven't even met yet to intersect with your destiny at the exact moment you need them. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is delayed without purpose. So when God says, relax, my timing is never late, He's inviting you to release your panic, unclench your fists, and trust that the one who holds eternity is also holding your next step. He has never missed a moment, and He won't start with you. When I tell you that anxiety blinds you from what God is already doing, I want you to hear it not as a gentle thought, but as a wake-up call to your spirit. Because anxiety is not just an emotion, it is a thief. It steals clarity, robs peace, and clouds your vision until all you see is what's going wrong instead of what God is making right. And some of you listening right now are so overwhelmed by what might happen tomorrow that you can't see what God has already orchestrated today. Let me speak to your heart directly. Worry narrows your world. It shrinks your perspective. It magnifies problems and minimizes God's presence. Anxiety holds a magnifying glass to your fears, but pushes God's promises into the background. And right now, many people are living not by faith, but by fear-driven imagination, imagining outcomes God never designed, rehearsing failures He never planned, and assuming endings He never wrote. But listen closely, because this is the part that I want you to grasp with everything in you. When your heart is anxious, it becomes almost impossible to recognize the quiet, steady movements of God. Anxiety makes you stare at the storm while God is calming the waves beneath your feet. Anxiety makes you focus on the closed door while God is building a better one right behind you. Anxiety makes you examine the problem so intensely that you miss the solution quietly forming on the sidelines. There are blessings already unfolding in your life that you have not even noticed because your mind is too busy rehearsing disaster. There are prayers God has already started answering, but you can't see them because worry has blocked your view. Anxiety can make you blind even while God is working miracles right in front of you. Let me engage your heart with something powerful. The enemy doesn't have to destroy you to defeat you. He only has to distract you, and anxiety is his favorite distraction. If he can keep your mind spinning, your emotions racing, your thoughts tangled, then he knows you'll miss the subtle fingerprints of God all over your story. But when you silence anxiety, even for a moment, your eyes begin to open. You start noticing things you overlooked: protection, provision, small victories, quiet mercies, unexpected strength. You see, God often works in ways that don't start loud. His answers enter like a whisper, not a shout. His breakthroughs begin like a seed, not a storm. If your mind is too crowded with fear, you won't sense the gentle stirring of His hand guiding you, helping you, lifting you. Some of you have been saying, I can't see God anywhere. But the truth is, He's been working everywhere. You just haven't been able to see through the fog of your own worry. And God is calling you right now to step out of that fog and breathe again. Because when anxiety loosens its grip, vision returns. When fear quiets down, faith speaks up. When your heart relaxes, your eyes finally open to the blessings already unfolding around you. Well, because when your heart relaxes, your eyes finally open to the blessings already unfolding around you. And that leads me to something deeply connected to this truth, something many people misunderstand. Resting in God is not laziness, it is confidence. And I want you to hear me clearly as I say this, because too many believers carry guilt for slowing down, for breathing, for pausing, for releasing what was never theirs to control. But rest in God is not the absence of effort, it is the presence of trust. Some of you have been running so hard, so fast, for so long that you have started to believe that if you stop, everything will collapse. But let me speak to you with all the authority of faith. You are not holding your life together. God is. Rest is not weakness, it is worship. It is the bold declaration that your strength is not your source and your effort is not your savior. Rest is saying, Lord, I trust you enough to stop fighting battles that belong to you. And here is the engaging truth, the kind of truth that shakes the heart awake. The enemy loves exhausted believers. Because when you're exhausted, you are vulnerable. When you are drained, your discernment weakens. When you're tired, you begin to accept lies that you would reject if your soul were rested. That is why God calls you to rest, not as a luxury, but as a spiritual weapon. Do you understand the power of a believer who rests in God? A rested believer doesn't panic when the news changes. A rested believer doesn't crumble when people walk away. A rested believer doesn't fall apart when life becomes unstable, because their stability isn't built on circumstances. It's built on trust. Let me talk straight to you. Some of you are busy trying to prove something, trying to accomplish something, trying to earn something, and you're wearing yourself out in the process. But God never asked you to prove yourself. He asked you to trust Him. Rest is not inactivity. It is inner stillness. It is the confident assurance that God is working even when you are not. Think about a child sleeping in a parent's arms. That child isn't worried about tomorrow, bills, deadlines, or outcomes. That child finds rest not because life is easy, but because they know who is holding them. That is the picture of what God wants for you. Not careless living, but confident resting. And here's something you must not miss. Rest in God is a declaration that His power is enough. It's acknowledging that His timing is better than your rushing, His wisdom is greater than your planning, and His strength is stronger than your striving. When you rest, you create room for God to move. When you step back, He steps forward. When you release control, He releases miracles. So if you've been carrying tension in your soul, if your mind has been running without pause, if your heart has forgotten how to breathe, hear this today. Resting in God is not laziness. It is confidence, the deepest, strongest, most unshakable confidence that your life is held. Your future is secure, and your God is already ahead of you. Oh, your future is secure, and your God is already ahead of you. And as we continue, let me take this truth one step deeper, because it flows naturally into the next reality. You must understand what you chase in fear, God gives in peace. And I want you to lean in as I say this, because it may confront you, challenge you, even shake something inside you, but it will also free you. Some of you have been running after things with trembling hands, running after approval, running after answers, running after opportunities, running after people, and the entire chase has been fueled by fear. Fear of missing out, fear of failing, fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough. And here is the painful truth. Anything birthed out of fear becomes a burden. When you chase something out of fear, you carry weight that was never meant to sit on your shoulders. You wake up anxious, you work anxious, you pray anxious, because deep down you believe that if you don't grab it now, it will slip through your fingers forever. But hear me, God never intended for you to run after blessings with panic in your heart. What He has for you does not require desperation. What He prepares for you does not require fear-driven pursuit. The blessings God sends into your life arrive wrapped in peace. They do not fight against you. They fit you. They do not exhaust you. They elevate you. They do not pull you away from God. They pull you toward Him. Fear pushes, but God's peace pulls gently, steadily, surely. And let me give you an engaging truth that cuts straight to the soul. Fear makes you chase things that were never meant to be yours, while peace positions you to receive what God already assigned to you. That is why many people feel tired, not because they are doing too much, but because they are pursuing the wrong things. When your path is shaped by fear, you end up carrying responsibilities God never gave you, fighting battles He never asked you to fight, and chasing outcomes He never designed for your destiny. But when peace leads you, everything changes. You stop chasing and start receiving. You stop stressing and start noticing. You stop begging and start trusting. The right opportunities begin to appear without force. The right people begin to walk into your life without manipulation. The right doors begin to open without you pounding on them with panic-filled fists. Let me speak directly to someone who needs to hear this. If you have to compromise your peace to keep it, it was never from God. If your mind is restless, if your heart is tight, if your spirit feels pressure, that is not God leading. That is fear driving. And fear will always take you further than you wanted to go and keep you longer than you wanted to stay. God's blessings flow in alignment with His peace. His favor moves gently, not frantically. His provision arrives with assurance, not anxiety. The things God intends for you will come in such a way that you will say, "This is peace. This is God. This is right." So stop running after what fear tells you you'll lose. Start resting in the truth that what God has written for your life will find you, not because you chased it in fear, but because you trusted Him enough to wait for it in peace. Because you trusted Him enough to wait for it in peace. And that brings us into the final truth that ties everything together, the truth that lifts the weight off your shoulders and places it back into the hands of the one who never fails. Relaxation is an invitation to witness God's power. And I want you to listen to this with a heart wide open, because this is not just a statement, it is a divine strategy for your life. When you relax in God, you are not stepping away from responsibility, you are stepping into revelation. You are positioning yourself to see what God has been doing all along. You are giving your spirit enough stillness to notice the movements of heaven that were drowned out by your rushing, overwhelmed by your worrying, hidden behind your constant striving. Relaxation is not retreat, it is alignment. Some of you have been so consumed with trying to fix everything that you haven't allowed God the space to show you what He can do. You have prayed for His power, but you haven't paused long enough to see it. You've asked for His intervention, but your anxiety has been louder than His instructions. And hear this clearly. God does some of His greatest work the moment you stop trying to play His role. When you relax, God reveals. When you breathe, God begins to move. When you step back from panic, you step into awareness. The miracles you thought were delayed suddenly become visible. The protection you doubted becomes undeniable. The shifts you couldn't see before now come into focus with clarity and purpose. Let me engage your heart with something powerful, something that has the potential to change the way you walk into your tomorrow. God does not need your stress to perform His power. He needs your surrender. Your tension doesn't accelerate His timing. Your worry doesn't strengthen His hand. Your fear doesn't activate His favor. But your rest, your genuine, heart-deep rest, positions you to witness His glory in ways that striving never could. Think of the Israelites at the Red Sea. Panic would have drowned them. Fear would have paralyzed them. But the moment they stood still, the moment they relaxed in the command God gave, the waters parted. The miracle wasn't released through movement, it was released through stillness. And some of you are standing in front of your own Red Sea right now, And the breakthrough you're waiting for won't come when you run harder. It will come when you stand still enough for God to reveal His power. Relaxation is not a passive posture. It is a powerful declaration. It is you saying, Lord, I trust what you're doing more than what I'm fearing. I trust your plan more than my pressure. I trust your strength more than my struggle. And when that trust rises, heaven responds. Because when you relax, you create a spiritual atmosphere where worry is silenced, faith is amplified, and God's power becomes unmistakably visible. You stop looking at what is falling apart and start seeing what God is holding together. You stop fixating on what you can't control and start noticing the fingerprints of God on every detail of your life. Relaxing doesn't make you weak. It makes room for God to show just how strong He truly is.